So I decided to do a little series about TradeStation Easy Language, and we'll try a few exercises and create a few easy language scripts that hopefully will help you to be able to write your own scripts to apply to your own uh, indicators and strategies and so on. So we'll start off by creating a new desktop. Here's our new desktop. Today we're going to just write a simple Bollinger Band indicator, and we'll set some alerts on it. Now, to do this, of course, we've got to have a workspace. So we'll go click on File and create a new workspace. And then within that workspace, we need to have an analysis. We're going to do this on a chart analysis. We'll make that big. And we'll spread it out a little bit so it doesn't look so awful. And here we have the 5-minute chart for the S&P 500 exchange traded fund with a SPY ETF. Now, most people, of course, are aware that TradeStation has a Bollinger Band indicator that you can put on. So if you go to Studies, add a study, and you flick down here to Bollinger Bands, they're right here. But the TradeStation stuff down here somewhere. Bollinger Band right here. So Bollinger Bands. And we put that on, and voila, there we have the Bollinger Bands. And we can use theirs, but what's the fun in that? So let's have a look and see about writing our own. But Bollinger Band is, let's remove this one. So we go Edit Studies. Just in case you're wondering what I'm doing here, I right-click on the screen. Alternatively, you can go up here and click on Studies and you get the same menu, but I just right-click on the screen anywhere, go down to Studies, this sub-menu appears. I'm going to go down to Edit Studies because I know there we have the option to remove it. So we'll remove the Bollinger Bands for the moment. And let's do this. We'll go File, New Application, and we'll open an Easy Language window. And the Easy Language window opened on another screen, so I'll just bring it over here. So there we are. Nice blank Easy Language window. Let's create a new indicator. And we're going to call it a Bollinger Band. However, I like to make sure that everything I write comes to the top of the list of things. So I'm going to start it with an exclamation point, and then I want to know that it's mine, so I put my Bollinger Bands, and I'm going to call it new because I've already got a few of them. So we'll call it new, my Bollinger Band new, and we'll save that. Now what we have is a blank indicator, a blank study. If we press F3, it'll compile successfully, but of course there's no lines of code. I always like to start my code with what it's about, my Bollinger Band. Bands demonstrates the writing of a simple indicator script. Okay, and you see that I started that with 2 forward slashes, and that indicates that this is a is a comment. I also like to have a version number somewhere. I like to put it after the name. I will call it version 1. 1.0. There we go. All right. So Bollinger Band is basically, well, it's exactly a the mid-Bollinger Band is a 20 simple moving average, a 20-period simple moving average, and we're going to do it on the 5 minutes. So let's declare, the first thing we have to do is declare some variables. So let's declare some variables, and you start that with statement variables, colon. And then you're going to say something like that. A variable we need is obviously the midband. So let's call it midband. We have to tell easy language what kind of a variable it is. It is a double. And a double is a double precision floating point. And it takes up a bit of space, but this is all we got. We're calling it midband. We have to give it an initial value, and we'll give it a 0. Now, do we have any more variables? If we don't have any more, then we just end it with a colon, semicolon. But we do. We want to have an upper band. It's also going to be a double. Notice that the word comes up after I type a couple of letters. And this is going to be upper band. And it's also going to start off with a 0, and then double, lower band. And it's also going to start off with a 0. And then I'm going to end it with a colon because that's all the variables that we need. Let's be consistent here. We'll make that an uppercase B as well. All right, so that is it for the variables. Now let's do the program. And the program is very simple. We just want to say midband. I just have to type a few letters and it brings up my stuff, and it's going to equal the moving average. And there's a function built into TradeStation which produces a moving average. And all you have to do is you call that function, which is called average. Average function is that, average FC. And you open the parenthesis. This gives you the ability to pass that function some variables. And we're going to call it, we want to base it on the closing price. So we just write close. That's the closing price. You can also shorten it to C because it's so commonly used. You can just go C. That's the closing price. But I'm going to go close so that it's more readable. And then you need to tell it how many candles you want it to count it over, to average it over. So the usual amount for Bollinger Band is 20. So we'll go close 20. You can set that as at whatever you want. And then that's the end of our first statement. So we end it with a semicolon. Inherited, I guess, from the old C language in the good old days. Now we're going to, the upper band and the lower band are simply standard deviations away from the average. So let's produce another variable that we're going to use in order to produce these. So we put a comma, come down here, and it's going to be a double again. And we'll call it, say, standard deviation. SD would be fine. 0. And then we have to calculate that. So the standard deviation right here is going to equal, again, TradeStation comes with a built-in function that allows you to calculate the standard deviation, and it's called standard dev. Obviously short for standard deviation. And then we're going to pass that a midband. And we've also got to tell it how how many candles to calculate this over. So we'll go 20, same as before. And then we've got to hand it a 1. Standard deviation has one other. If we go to definition of standard deviation, it will tell us on its little help screen. And the way I brought this up, it's appeared on another screen. The way I brought this up was I right-click on the thing that I want to know a little bit about, and then it'll tell me, it'll bring up the syntax and what they are. Standard dev, you standard the price, what price are we calculating, the length, and the data type. And it tells down here, it's either population or sample. So we're doing a population. This is the calculation that it's working out. You could always write that if you want to, but TradeStation have been kind enough to write it for us, and it's their standards. Anyway, we're going population, so it's going to be a 1. And then that's your second statement in your little script here. Now, we want to calculate the upper band. So let's go upper band equals, what is it? Well, it's going to be the mid band. And then you're going to add to that the standard deviation, which is SD. And most Bollinger Bands like to do 2 standard deviations on either side. So you're going to multiply that standard deviation by 2. All right, so that produces that. Now, the lower band is going to be almost identical, except it's minus. So I'm just going to copy that line. I do a shift down arrow, which highlights the line. I do a control insert, which puts it in the whatever it is, remembers it. And then I go shift insert, which writes it. I'm just going to change upper to lower band, and it's going to be mid band, but instead of plus, it's going to be minus. So here we have our little script, and it will produce, with a bit of luck, the Bollinger Bands. Let's see if it compiles okay. Now you might, if you're used to programming like regular programming, you're going to say, but what happens when it gets to the end of that script? So it's just going to put 3 points up there. This easy language and most programming languages that are built for the stock market or for trading are event driven. So this script runs every time there is an event, and the events that it's watching are trades. So every time that there's a trade, it runs through the script. So that's what's going to happen. Now we have up on the screen previous or events that have already happened. So it's going to work its way through this chart, each candle at a time, and take the close of that candle, figure out its average over the previous 20 candles, figure out a standard deviation over the previous 20 candles, and then here's a problem. Just occurred to me. We haven't told it to plot anything. So what we have to do is we have to introduce another nice little easy language thingy called plot. And plot, you assign it a number, and there are 99 of them, plot 1 through 99. And the very simplest plot is plot, open parentheses, the value you want to plot. We'll go into this a bit more deeply in a future thing, close parentheses, and end the statement. And we're going to do that. Plot 1, we're going to do plot 2, the upper band, and then we're going to go plot 3 is going to be the lower band. Lower band, there we go. And and end it with a semicolon. So then it's going to plot 1, 2, 3 points for every candle. It's also going to join those plots together in a nice smooth line. F3 is your shortcut for compiling it. Also, if you don't have an F3, you can go up here to build, and then there's a menu comes down and so on, but I can't bother doing that. And we go enter. Now let's see if we can put that on the chart. So we go studies, add a study. Remember, I positioned this with an exclamation point to put it right up the top of my list, but I got a lot of stuff here. Here we go, my Bollinger Bands new. So we click on that and open it. And this is defaulted to put the Bollinger Bands down on a separate graph. So you've got your trading up here, you've got or the prices up here, and you've got your Bollinger Bands down here. So let's do a little bit of setup here. Right click on this, you go to studies, you go to edit the studies, and then we can go into customize. We want to customize a few things here. Firstly, let's go to scaling. This will tell the system where to put it. We want to put it not on subgraph 2, but on 1. We only want one graph. So then you're going to use the same axis as the underlying data, which is the candles, of course. And we go, okay, now we've got a nice Bollinger Band going all over. Something's not quite right with this. 20. So something is definitely wrong here. It's not calculating the upper band and the lower band correctly. So we need to have a look back at our code. We can either go down to the bottom of the screen and just bring it up. And that's what we'll do. Easy language will come up. And here's the problem. It shouldn't be calculating the standard deviation of the midband. It should be calculating the standard deviation of the close. So we'll put that in and recompile it with the F3 and see if that fixes our problem. And it does. And let's compare that now with their standard one that's been provided. We'll grab a Bollinger Bands provided by TradeStation, turn it on, and it's the same. It's exactly the same. So I hope you enjoyed this little expose of easy language coding. This is obviously step 1, and we'll go on to make some changes and adjustments and add various things such as alerts and whatnot as we move ahead. And we'll see you on the next go around.